you're not allowed to use social media unless you're over 13. But we know that there are lots of youth that are below 13 that probably lie about their age in order to be on these social platforms. We know that the social platforms can look at behaviour of these folks, because if they say they're 18 and they have the behaviour of a 13-year-old, then they need to be better in order to make sure they validate those people that are of that age.
TikTok has paid one of the largest ever settlements to end a lawsuit in the United States, alleging its platform violated children's privacy. Meta, meanwhile, is facing penalties that could exceed hundreds of billions of dollars stemming from violating the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, which was enacted in 2000 in the US. Let's talk to Trevor Johnson, former Facebook, TikTok and Instagram executive. Could you think of anyone better to talk to on this subject? Trevor, welcome to the programme.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Talk us through, if you would, what happened with TikTok and how they violated the law in as much as you can without all the legalese.
Sure. So the Biden administration, the DOJ, first filed the suit in 2024, and they accused TikTok of violating the previous consent order from 2019. What this judgment means is that TikTok will clear the allegations that it violated the Children's Online Privacy Act, and it will pay a total of $400 million without undergoing further litigation or admitting wrongdoing. TikTok will claim that since the lawsuit was filed, that it's undergone significant changes to its ownership and its management and its compliance functions and privacy practices. And that's what it says in the DOJ release, and that's going to be really important. I'll come back to that in a minute. And whilst the settlement is one of the largest recoveries ever obtained in a case under the privacy law, it's not really that much in the context of the revenues, the same as the Facebook one the other day.
Yeah.
The settlement may be expensive, but it's better for the company that it doesn't continue with litigation with the DOJ.
Yeah.
And in the context of what these businesses are, their revenue and their revenue growth, it's pretty much the cost of doing business. Same as Facebook, same as Google in terms of some of their competitive stuff. But what's really, really important to understand is that, and the other element to this, is whether or not this is that was done under the Biden DOJ. We're now under the Trump-led DOJ. And if you remember that Trump led a buyout of the TikTok US business led by Larry Ellison, who owns Oracle. And he was part of the group that bought the US business. So it's a question whether or not that this DOJ fine is a bailout based on that new DOJ rather than the old DOJ, which was looking to ban TikTok in the US. Indeed, there was a ban. It didn't come into place. It was in place for about 24 hours. Trump came in and he undid the ban, and then eventually the US business got sold. So that's where we are right now. But
okay, that's the kind of the macro overview of the story.
That's the macro overview, yes.
So, Trevor, give me a sense of children's online privacy protection with regard to TikTok, because they're the kind of the star of this story, if you will. What are we talking about in terms of the micro? Give me an example of when a child's online privacy is unprotected.
So, the platform back in 2019, when this applies to, was what was a very, very different platform. They will point to age verification that they have. They will point to points within their messaging where people that aren't already friends with people that are under 16 cannot contact folks. They'll talk about their moderation and how they have better moderation when it comes to AI or people moderation, which will continue to improve going forwards. But there's still questions around whether or not they are doing enough. The same as Facebook, they are doing enough when it comes to protecting children online, making sure that people are the age that they say they are, making sure they have an experience that is appropriate to their age, making sure the content that is on there, or the moderation, some of the contents are on there, of the content, or some of the comments are on there, are appropriate to not just the age, but to whether or not they want that on there. I think over the last couple of years, the whole opening up of free speech, particularly within the US, has maybe loosened some of those content moderation policies. That's maybe made it a little bit more open, a little bit more less safe, both for users and for children. So whilst they will have done a lot to do, particularly within some of the functions and the features that they allow under 16s to have, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done in order for those folks or their platforms to be really, really safe for the under 16s, which is why in the UK they're talking about putting in a ban. It's why they put a ban in Australia.
Brilliant answer, and it helps me to ask you the next question, which is about the desperately sad series of stories that focuses on parents who've lost a child for whatever reason, through maybe death by suicide or what have you, and these parents actively feel that it's these platforms that have driven their child to this. Where do these companies stand when it comes to something as emotional and as difficult and as frankly sad as that?
Yeah, there's a number of things that the platforms have been doing, and I'll talk about some of the things they should be doing even more so. So what they have been doing is been putting in reporting features where people can report content or report bullying or report activity online that is either is harmful to them. But the challenge is whether or not these reports are, one, being picked up, and two, being picked up quick enough and then being responded to. The second is when it comes to particularly self-harm content, there's always the line between if people are looking for self-harm content for information versus looking for self-harm content for harmful reasons, right? So if you want to figure out or do some more research on self-harm content, when do the platforms draw the line between that being research and that being harmful? I'm not sure that they've got that right there. And then it also comes down to identifying people that are of age. So you're not allowed to use social media unless you're over 13. But we know that there are lots of youth that are below 13 that probably lie about their age in order to be on these social platforms. We know that the social platforms can look at behaviour of these folks, because if they say they're 18 and they have a behaviour of a 13-year-old, then they need to be better in order to make sure they validate those people that are of that age. And within the UK specifically, there's been lots of age validation efforts and legislation that's been put in place to ensure that when people sign up to these platforms, they are over the age that they say they are. So the platforms do need to do more in order to be responsive, whether or not they're using better AI, whether or not they're using people moderation, whether or not they're getting people to report these things or responding quick enough to ensure that people are protected online. They'll say that they've done a lot, but they definitely need to do more, and they need to be quicker.
Trevor, the figure of TikTok's fine, $400 million, is mouth-watering to you and to me and to everyone listening to this show. There's no question about it. But if you're Mr. TikTok and friends at the top of the tree, are you swatting away a fly on a summer's day?
For people like Meta, where they are hundreds of billions of dollars of revenue, then it's the cost of doing business. For TikTok, where revenue is a little bit less, it does bite, but we are talking about TikTok, which is revenue globally is $20 billion. And when you think about them being part of ByteDance, which is the single biggest private company in China, which is hundreds of billions of dollars of revenue, it is a cost of doing business, right? They put aside budget in order to pay the fines that they know are coming up. So whilst $400 million does smart for someone like TikTok, it's not a huge amount given the cost of their revenue, how fast they're growing, and how much money they've already got through revenues to this point, since 2019. And
do the fines have an impact? So whatever about the United States, is that a global impact if it does change? Will we feel it here in the UK? Will it affect things like the Online Safety Act, for example? Or is the fine paid and it's business as unusual with a few tweaks along the way?
So what I think the fines do is they draw a line in the sand. They allow us to see and understand and review where those platforms are when it comes to protecting users online. Where it really makes a difference is with legislation, right? So yes, we do have the Online Safety Act in the UK, which is trying to press those platforms into doing things. They can fine them up to 10% of global revenue for any contraventions of that. The challenge is that we've seen that come into play very recently when it comes to Grok and the AI and the Naked app. But all that happened really was there was a $10 million fine or a £10 million fine for that, right? So whether or not the fines have teeth is a big question. What I really think is that legislation is where it really comes down to how these platforms really making big differences. And again, the platforms will say they have made a big difference over the last few years, and I admit that they have. But these platforms are getting bigger. There's more and more content that's being created on these platforms that are being seen by more and more users. So there's more and more efforts that need to be done to ensure users remain safe when it comes to content they see, the comments, bullying, and harmful things that they can get exposed to.
All right, that's really fascinating and informed insight, Trevor. Much obliged. Thanks for your time today. Trevor Johnson is a former Facebook, TikTok and Instagram executive. He was exactly the person we needed to talk to today to give such a comprehensive look into that particular story.